fuck even is I-4?
Check it out. I got a microphone now. I had to attach it to a rice spoon. To the non-Floridians out there, I-4 is like if you took one of those carpets you had as a kid with all the roads and all that shit. You know what I'm talking about, like the ones they had at the daycare and stuff. And then you laid that out over Central Florida and you called it a day. It's 132 miles of pure fucking anarchy that somehow connects Tampa to Daytona. And I use the word connects loosely here because while yes, it does go from east to west or west to east, whichever way you want to see it, the chances of being taken out by a hypersonic missile suspiciously shaped like a Nissan Altima are very high. And I'm not being dramatic here, right? Between 2016 and 2019, I-4 averaged over 1 death per mile, making it the deadliest interstate in the country. You're more likely to die on this 132-mile stretch of road than get robbed by some crackhead on OBT. So as I mentioned before, it's a 132-mile stretch of road that runs from Tampa, the West Coast, cuts to Orlando, and spits you back out at Daytona Beach all the way on the East Coast. The highway opened back in 1965, and here's when Disney comes in, right? When I-4 was being built in the 60s, that interstate convinced Walt Disney that building a massive theme park in Central Florida would work out. Walt Disney specifically chose the area near where I-4 and the Turnpike meet just because the highway infrastructure was already there. So basically I-4 made Disney World possible. So thank you I-4 for that, right? And then in turn, Disney kind of turned I-4 into a fucking nightmare. So that's kind of poetic. And believe it or not, I-4 was actually built with expansion in mind. Can you fucking believe that shit? Right? They weren't complete idiots back then. But nobody could really predict the explosive fucking growth that Florida would experience, especially now. Right? We went from orange groves and swamplands to fucking strip malls, weed dispensaries now, and shitty gift shops. Right? Central Florida is one of the most densely populated corridors in the country now. The road was ready to expand, right? I-4 was ready to grow, but it wasn't ready to grow, like, it was ready to grow this much. Not that big, massive, absolutely massive. Okay, so we've established that I-4 was built back in 1965 and that the planners couldn't have predicted the future, right? Well, here's where Florida fucks up. A lot, okay? Right? The I-4 corridor is not home to over 8 million fucking people, right? 8 million residents, over 60 million visitors a year. We get a lot of tourists down here. About 1,000 people are moving to Florida every day, which is insane to think about, right? That's insane growth. And Florida's response to this has been just to build more lanes, bro. Just one more lane. One more lane, bro. One more lane, right? Build more lanes and just pray. Let's talk about public transit. Or more accurately, the complete lack of it. Orlando's one of the few major metropolitan areas that doesn't have a dedicated revenue source for transportation funding. We are a region with a $75 billion industry, and buses take 3 hours to travel like 15 miles. And it's not like there haven't been opportunities to fix this. Sunrail, Orlando's commuter rail, it was defeated by state legislature in 2009 before eventually limping back into existence with the most useless schedule. You know, it's not a useless schedule, right? But it doesn't run on weekends. And like, where can tourists even go, right? You look at a map of Sunrail, sure, you can go to Winter Park, right? It's nice. The station's right there. But look at the fucking Sanford station. Look at the DeLand station. How far away are those stations from their respective downtowns? They're nowhere fucking near it. They are nowhere near it. It's like this shit was on purpose or something, right? But, you know, you can't really fix where the train goes, but the schedule though, God forbid I want to go somewhere on the weekend, right? I have the opportunity of living near a Sunrail station, which is a privilege, right? But, right, what if I want to go to Winter Park on the weekend and I don't want to drive? I just want to take the train. I can't. I know I sound like I'm bashing Sunrail, but I don't hate you, buddy. I know you try your best. You're trying your best out there. Little Sunrail train with a sad face crying. You're trying your best. But the real problem here that contributes to I-4 being a complete fucking shit show is developers, right? Developers have been allowed to build whatever they want, wherever the fuck they want it, right? They can build along the I-4 corridor with absolutely zero regard to whether the infrastructure can handle it or not, right? State laws like Senate Bill 180 make it harder for local governments to control growth. And when you got the Florida Wildlife Commission stacked with people that have deep ties to developers and real estate, cooked, right? Every new subdivision, every new fucking apartment, every new strip mall just dumps more cars into I-4, and nobody in Tallahassee gives a shit because they're making moolah. They're making moolah from those little investments they have, right? So you've got explosive population growth, no alternative to driving. It's a recipe for disaster, right? It's a never-ending loop. Now, there are plans to make I-4 better, but before I talk about those, I want to talk about something that happened not too long ago, if you look at it, really. Florida voters actually passed a constitutional amendment back in 2000 that mandated that the state build a high-speed rail line connecting the state's 5 largest cities, right? Jeb Bush killed it, right? Please clap. Please clap, right? And then we can fast forward to 2011, where something similar happened. Governor Rick Scott, governor at the time, rejected $2.4 billion to help in the construction of a high-speed rail line that went from Tampa to Orlando. And Florida just turned that shit down. They turned that shit down, right? And this was exactly the kind of infrastructure that could have taken off some stress out of I-4. Fun fact, the reason that the median on I-4 is so wide, right, between the different directions of traffic is because the train was supposed to go there. It was supposed to go in between. There you go. You can tell your parents that or something. I don't know. Scott joined several Republican governors that have rejected the federal stimulus money, squashing President Obama's vision for a modernized rail network that was part of the plan to get the economy going after 2008. I was like 4 years old sucking on my thumb back then, so I don't really remember this shit personally. Right, his reasoning, you know, he was worried about cost overruns, and didn't want Floridian taxpayers to foot the bill, you know? Right, he was being fiscally responsible, right? What a responsible individual. I bet he didn't have any ulterior motives as to reject this money. Well, after rejecting the money in 2011, Scott later supported a privately funded rail venture that was pretty much gonna do the same thing except connect Miami to Orlando, which is called Brightline. You guys heard of them? He and his wife invested millions into a firm that was the parent company that was in charge of the proposal, which is the parent company to Brightline, or at least the company that owns Brightline, right? Not even the first time or the last time Rick Scott would do shady shit. This man has a closet full of skeletons. Motherfucker looks like a skeleton to begin with. He literally looks like Skeletor. So instead of getting high-speed rail that Florida could have had decades ago, Florida said no twice, and everyone gets to sit in traffic on I-4 now. By the way, again, just like with Sunrail, I don't hate Brightline. I think it's a great service, at least for US standards, right? They have plans to extend to Jacksonville and Tampa. It's just, we could have had this so fucking long ago and faster, right? Because the trains that they were going to use were the same Shinkansen trains they use in Japan, right? We wouldn't have the I'm not going to say slower trains that Brightline has, because their max speed is 125, and that's from the section that goes towards Orlando. Because most of the time they're going below 100 miles an hour, especially down by Miami. Anyways, I'm rambling on, let's move on. So after decades of doing nothing, Florida decided to finally do something. Wow. Enter I-4 Ultimate, which they called the largest highway infrastructure project in Florida's history. The project cost $2.3 billion, right? Same as the high-speed rail. But let's see what we got with this money instead. Okay, yep. Rebuilding 21 miles of I-4 through the heart of Orlando. Wow, it took 7 years to complete. What did we get with those $2.3 billion? Express toll lanes. We got express toll lanes, bud. Cool. Don't you love express toll? That's right. Florida's grand solution to I-4's problems was to add lanes you pay extra for. Now, okay, right? You're trying to get people off the road. Fine, right? A congestion charge. It's pretty much like a congestion charge. It has worked on other cities, right? Especially in Sweden, right? They did it in Stockholm. It worked great. What does Sweden have that we down here in fucking Florida don't have, though? An alternative to driving. We don't have rapid transit. We don't have good rail service. We don't have good buses, right? This is just one big fucking suburb. We have to drive everywhere. We have no other fucking choice. You want to walk to Walmart, dude? Walmart's like a 4-hour walk. Because I live in a cul-de-sac. Almost everyone lives in a cul-de-sac, right? And this project was a total shit show as well. Like, let me tell you. Let me read some shit off right here, right? Work on the project fell 273 days behind schedule. Multiple fucking fatalities while building this shit. And if you live down here and you were driving through here, you never even noticed, really, that the project ended, I think, in 2021 or 2022 because they're still building shit. Like, construction is never fucking finished, right? I'm getting ahead of myself. But hey, maybe it fixed congestion on I-4, right? Maybe. Well, Florida Department of Transportation Public Information Director Cindy Lane, isn't that funny? Her name has Lane in it. She said the average motorist saves 5 minutes westbound and 4 minutes eastbound on their trip, adding up to 3 hours a month for a regular commuter. Wow. So spending $2.3 billion to save an average of 4.5 minutes per driving means that the Florida Department of Transportation values drivers' time at $786 an hour. Yeah, I want to work for that. I would love to work for that much fucking money an hour. That was actually what someone commented under a news article that I was reading to get this information. I just thought it was funny because it perfectly captures what I was fucking feeling. So spending $2.4 billion on high-speed rail, which would have actually gotten people off the road and would have been cheaper to maintain than a fucking highway, was too much money. But 2.3 to just add 21 miles of express line, cool. That's cool, man. Right? Yeah, just add one more lane. 99% of planners stop before one more lane fixes the problem. You just gotta add one more lane. It's like the picture of the guy that's digging for gold and he stops just before he finds the gold. Just add one more lane. So what does the future hold for I-4? Well, if you guessed it, more lanes. Congratulations. Here's your medal. Grab your medal. Have a rice spoon. As part of a $7 billion Moving Florida Forward infrastructure initiative, the Florida Department of Transportation is adding more lanes to I-4 from US 27 in Polk County to World Drive in Osceola County. It's the same playbook. Just keep adding lanes and pray, right? Hope that induced demand isn't a real thing. But there is light at the end of this tunnel, or this express lane. Let's call it express lane. That's funny. Brightline, like I said before, is planning to extend to Tampa and eventually Jacksonville, specifically along the I-4 corridor, the same fucking thing that they were gonna do like a decade ago, but they said no. Anyways, but yeah, it'll make the trip from Orlando International Airport to Tampa take around like an hour or so. And I'm pretty sure the station is gonna be in downtown Tampa, which is okay. I'll use it a couple times probably, because right now I don't want to go to Miami. Miami is like purgatory. Miami is the Nether from Minecraft, except you don't really have to go there to beat the game. I don't have to go to Miami to complete my life. I can just stay where I am. I don't have to go anywhere near Miami. Anyway, right, they're looking to raise $400 million, and it is planned to open by 2028. You see, that's my dog saying bullshit on that. Whatever. Hopefully it does happen. He's angry. There's also the Sunshine Corridor, which is what I'm most excited for, right? Because I use Sunrail quite a bit, actually, right? Sunrail right now runs from DeLand to Ponciana, down south. As I mentioned before, some Sunrail stations dump you out in the middle of nowhere with nothing near it. But the Sunshine Corridor I think it's going to be great because guess what, right? It would connect Sunrail to Orlando International Airport. So imagine having a flight and being able to get there without having to drive to the airport or take an Uber or a taxi. You just get on a train, go to the airport, boom, you're done. Get on your flight, go wherever the fuck you want. But yeah, it's going to have stops from Orlando International Airport to, I think, the convention center, the Orange County Convention Center, yeah. Also, I don't know, because it was a joint venture between Brightline and Sunrail that they were going to do this. They wanted to make a station at Disney Springs, but that fell through because, you know, all these other big theme parks, right, Universal and all that shit kind of called bullshit on that they were going to hog the station for themselves. So I don't really know where they're going to build the station, probably around International Drive, right? Because the convention center one is going to be good because it's pretty central around where a lot of tourist attractions are. It's just not very close to the theme parks. You could probably get on a bus and go to Universal, but you know, if you want to go to Disney, it's gonna be a little bit of a stretch, right? Disney's a little farther away. Now, look, I know Brightline and the Sunshine Corridor aren't gonna be the magic bullet because Central Florida as a whole is sprawled to hell, right? You need rapid transit that goes everywhere, right? You need buses, you need the whole thing. You know, I just don't really see that happening here, specifically in Florida. Just because most of our towns don't really have city centers because most of Florida grew after the interstate highway system. So they were all built with cars in mind. You know, everything was built with cars in mind. Everything was built with cars in mind. I got to say a couple times just to emphasize that fact, right? But these projects are something. They're not just adding one more fucking lane and praying. Because I swear to God, if I have to drive through I-4 and I see they're adding another lane, I don't know what I'm gonna do. The real question is whether Florida will actually support these projects. And so far, Florida did help Brightline build their segment up to Orlando, but recently they said they weren't gonna give Brightline any more money. Our current president, I don't think is a big fan of real projects or funding things. If you want to hear more about the Brightline or the Sunrail projects, I'll leave a video up here. Actually, my other channel, I've made videos on those topics because I'm an autist and I like trains. RFK is gonna send me to a concentration camp. Please be kind though. Some of those videos were actually, the Sunrail video was like my second ever video on that channel. It's not a bad video. It's just, you know, I was still trying to get the hang of things. Please be kind. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a like. Subscribe would be very greatly appreciated. And honestly, if you want to see me keep doing these like rant style videos, like I said in my last video or the video before that, I think I have a lot of shit to rant about. My mind is full of things, right? Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go play some Battlefield 6 now. So yeah, bye.
We're getting closer to me now. I don't know if Oh, it's like making weird sounds. What are you doing? Oh, hello. Look at this. Uh-oh. Oh, Troublemaker's here. You gonna bark at him? You gonna bark? we got the guard dog here.